Do you think that the number of positions she's talking about eliminating, 400 through consolidation, 400 through attrition, I guess open jobs, is that realistic in your mind?
It's something that we want to hold up to the light. I mean, we're reacting to it right now, and it may well be, but we have to evaluate it more closely.
$7.5 million for cleaning up parks and beaches. Are those the kind of jobs Connecticut should be focused on creating right now? If we're going to have some kind of a jobs creation program?
That's a good question, and we're going to delve into this. There's some other changes in her budget that may, discourage sectors of the economy that we want to keep whole, but we plan on digging into that in the next couple of days and finding out whether those are the best priorities for keeping Connecticut's economy on track for recovery at some point in the not-too-distant future.
What's your securitization of the clean energy funds?
Well, I think securitization in general is a bad idea, and I noticed that she's putting this off to the second year of the biennium, and in the presentation that we had just before her speech, they were saying that if the budget picture turned around, they would want to withdraw that securitization proposal. So, I mean, it is a big number. I think it's about $350 million, and I mean, it does raise a serious concern about how much of this budget is balanced with one-time revenue. I've seen one source where it may be as high as $3.3 billion.
What are your estimates on the stimulus? Her estimates basically over 3 years is $2 billion over the 3 years, and that's very important money. Are your estimates in that ballpark?
Well, she's relying on numbers that come primarily from the House Democrats' package in Washington. As we know, there's not a final approval of any stimulus package, so those numbers are speculative right now.
With the consolidation of agencies, did that seem appropriate to you? Anything that was a source of concern?
Looking generally at the consolidation of agencies is very appropriate. Finding efficiencies wherever we can and making government more efficient, we're going to work together with the governor on that. When it comes down to the specifics, I think we're going to want to evaluate it on a cost-benefit basis.
How difficult and painful is the budget in your eyes, what she's offering?
Well, there is pain in this budget proposal, as she said, but for better or worse, it is not as painful as the current reality would demand, and that's why we're asking the governor for a supplement to her budget to address what we believe is an additional $2.6 billion shortfall.
Like this, and then you move all the way back this time.
You'd have to ask her about that. But we know that the numbers don't add up completely, and it's not necessarily her fault. I mean, we know that this is a moving target. If the budget needed to go to the printers a week and a half ago, things have changed in the last week and a half in terms of the new Office of Fiscal Analysis numbers that came out on Monday.
What about the governor's insistence on not raising taxes?
She's been able to hold to that with her current plan, primarily through using a tremendous amount of one-time revenue, again about $3.3 billion, and also by bypassing what is a growing deficit and not addressing that additional $2.6 billion that will almost undoubtedly have to be addressed.
So do you think that will have to be addressed by raising taxes?
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see her supplement to this budget package. She will have to go back and add to this to address the changing reality in terms of the budget picture.
How progressive are some of these measures? Doubling every fee under $100, is that more regressive than adjusting another tax? And in that case, is the no taxes pledge less meaningful than she says?
That's a really good question, and that's something that we want to evaluate in terms of the fairness of this budget. Does it hurt certain folks disproportionately? Is it targeting those in the greatest of need? Is it targeting the middle class? And we're going to be having our committees and our legislators take a very close look as to how fair this budget really is. We all understand that there will have to be sacrifice. It needs to be shared sacrifice. It needs to be a fair process.
But it doesn't sound like at the outset you're saying, no, we absolutely can't do a copay on a Medicaid-funded program. No, we can't raise a certain fee. There wasn't anything that categorically you would say you can't do, right?
No, in this atmosphere, we're not ruling anything dead on arrival. Everything is on the table. It needs to be, and the governor's going to have to, roll up her sleeves and amend her package to deal with a changed budget deficit circumstance.
How about probate courts? Can you support consolidation of probate courts right now?
Well, there's a proposal from the probate court association to achieve some additional consolidation. So the governor's plan, I haven't had a chance to dig deeply into it, but from what I understand, consolidates a whole lot more than their plan does. But we're open to both what the association has proposed and to work with the governor on what she's proposed.
There's a lot of movement of troopers out of things like school resource officers and so forth back onto the road, and fees for people who are particularly bad drivers. What do you think is going to be the reaction to those sorts of movements, transfers, fees?
It's on the table, but I think we want to be very careful when it comes to changes in our public safety policy. We want to make sure that we're keeping our communities safe and our families safe, and that's going to be the way we evaluate those proposals.
What about eliminating the Office of Healthcare Advocate, since it's supported by the insurance industry, basically, not by Connecticut?
Well, again, I think when it comes to consolidation or elimination of agencies, we're going to look at things from a cost-benefit analysis. There are some cases where it's going to make a whole lot of sense to combine or eliminate. In other cases, it may not. There may be a net loss to taxpayers in terms of accountability and service. So that's, I won't say one way or the other on the healthcare advocate right now, but that's the basis we'll evaluate that change and all the agency changes.
Isn't there a benefit to having the healthcare advocate be independent now?
Well, again, that's going to be one of the approaches that we use in terms of costs and benefits. And for that particular case, they may have more things going for them. But let's face it, we've got to make significant changes, and changes will come to various agencies and departments.
Again, your overall reaction to the budget proposal?
I think it's a very good start for the governor. We want to work with her on this. I'm very glad that she has reached out to us with ideas like regionalization for cities and towns, an expanded bottle bill, things that we've suggested in the past. At the same time, we know there's more work to do. Her budget proposal is out of date already, and it's estimated that there's another $2.6 billion that her budget does not account for in terms of deficit.